In this episode, we're going to be discussing tips and strategies for trail camera success.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.
In part one, we went over trail camera locations, where to put your trail cameras this time of year to capture great photos and videos of whitetails specifically, but all wildlife in general. And in this video, we're going to go a little bit deeper and discuss the whys and the hows to deploy your trail cameras.
You know, with that being said, really the hows and whys is probably the most important thing.
That's right.
You know, because technically you put a camera up and you get a video or picture of something, but how you go about doing it. For example, what time of day? What time of day is usually the best time to put your trail camera up? Because when is wildlife most active?
Early morning, late afternoon.
Yeah, so do you do it in those time periods?
It would be unwise to do it during those time periods.
Right. Exactly. So right there, time of day, and how something simple like that will really dictate whether you have success or not.
Right. It sounds so simple to say, well, deer are moving early afternoon or early in the morning, so I'm gonna put my trail camera up during the middle of the day. Obviously, like if you go in, think of deploying your trail cameras just as you would hunting. Very similarly. Yeah. You want to access the area when deer aren't going to be there. Yeah. Middle of the day when deer are all food or bedding, or all food sources are in bedding areas. It's hot, wildlife is moving less that time of day. You can get in quietly and put up your trail camera and get out, and more times than not, deer are going to walk by that camera that afternoon or the next morning without having ever known you were there.
Yeah, and you mentioned one thing, that's access. Do we, you know, for some simple reasons, do we go way deep in the woods to put our camera? Well, yeah, some such situations will dictate whether we do that. But most times, you know, they're at water holes, food plots, very accessible, in and out, whether it's on a side-by-side, your four-wheeler truck, or you're packing in to go, you know, that rough location. But access, think about, as Cody mentioned, pretend like you're going to your tree stand almost. Right. You know, think about time of day, access, and that will dictate whether success. It's little things. Right, and really kind of dig a little bit deeper and think of the trail camera that you're checking and where it is. For example, if it's on a food plot, then you can, and it's a situation where deer are used to the sound of your truck or your side-by-side or your ATV, drive right up to it. It's a sound they're accustomed to. They're used to the scent from the tire or maybe the exhaust from the machine. And they'll be more accustomed and less bothered by the sound of the machine and its scent than human scent or foot traffic. But if you're going deeper into the timber where it's more difficult to access, or you're not taking a side-by-side or a four-wheeler as often, that will booger deer more than if you were to sneak in more quietly on foot. Oh, absolutely, because I know we have footage of those deer, you know, reacting negatively to a four-wheeler tire. Right. You know, it's like, whoa. So think about that. Pretend, like Cody said, that's a good way of looking at it. Pretend that you're hunting, you're going to your tree stand. So think, it's little things. Since we're talking about hunting, treating it like hunting, so what do we want to think about that? Our scent.
That's right. So you wouldn't think about scent control being a priority when you're putting out your trail camera, but especially for whitetails, more specifically older age class bucks, if that's what you're hunting and that's what you're trying to get pictures of, that nose of theirs is their first line of defense. And if they detect anything out of the ordinary that alerts their brain that this is a person or this is danger, they are going to avoid that area for a long time. You're not going to get a picture of them. So scent control is top of the line on the list of priorities.
And with scent control, you can go, you know, your basic, or you can go just crazy. Right. Latex gloves, rubber boots, scent away spray. But what Cody, the big take-home message here is what Cody was saying, is that, you know, time of year will dictate scent. This time of year, September, August, July, June, going backwards. You know, deer are nuts, they're just kind of just doing their thing. Right. But once their body starts changing, stranger danger. Right. You know, so scent, going above and beyond, might come across silly. Some people might go, you don't need that, I've never used it, but why go? Just, you know, at least rubber boots, you know, some type of scent-free activity is what you want to use for success.
Right, and scent control goes beyond just, you know, scent control sprays or rubber boots or rubber gloves, and it kind of goes back to time of day. Early morning, late afternoon is when there is the most moisture in the air. Moisture holds scent. It's another reason to check your cameras or put out cameras in the middle of the day. It's when the air is most dry, and you're going to leave less scent. It's going to evaporate more quickly the drier the air is. And doing it in the middle of the day when the air is most dry, you're going to leave less residual scent. Another thing that I like to do, if possible, is to put out cameras or check them before a rain, before a significant rain, because you can get in and that rain is going to wash away the majority of your scent, if not all of it. And it's kind of like a clean slate. And if I have a time to put out cameras, obviously you can't control Mother Nature when it rains, but if I had to pick an ideal time, it would be before a significant rain event.
Yeah, just again, little things to go over, you know, access, time of day, and also scent. So that leaves us with one more that we wanted to discuss.
Right.
And that is positioning of the camera.
And it's one thing that I kind of get a little lazy with, and I think if we're honest with ourselves, we all do. We got a spot in mind to scrape, a food plot, whatever. We know it's going to be a good spot. We're excited. We slap the camera on the tree, we walk away, and then we go through it. It's picture, picture, picture. But if you pay close attention to those pictures or those videos and the deer's behavior in those pictures and videos, they can tell a pretty telling story if you pay attention to the details.
And with positioning of the camera, you have to think sometimes, are we doing more harm than good? Because we could be spooking deer specifically just by the position of the camera, as crazy as that sounds. And you go through all that steps, scent control, access, you did all your homework. You were like a ninja going in there.
Right.
And then you position the camera. So how do we figure out if the positioning of the camera is harming or what we're trying to accomplish? And simple thing is switch that camera by push a button from picture to video. Just by doing that, we can sit there and inventory how deer are reacting to the camera.
Right.
If we normally put our cameras at chest level, do we not? Yep. And then if we starting to see a negative response, and what is a negative response to the camera? Anything outside the norm, okay? So anything outside the norm that you see, now one or two deer, you know, is one thing. But you start seeing the majority of your deer reacting negative to like a scrape, you might want to change that around, because what Cody said earlier, you can really dictate a deer's activity on that piece of property by doing it wrong.
Right.
So if you put a camera on a scrape and you spook it, well, that ain't happening, okay? But a negative response, so what do? Move it, simple. Just move it up, eye level, put a little stick behind it, angle it down, solved. Right. Yeah, more times than not. So positioning of the camera, we have a lot of footage that can show that it does have a negative response, but you don't know unless you put it on video mode.
Right.
A lot of times, you know, those bucks sit there and do GQ poses in front of the camera, and a lot of times it's like, you know what, you hit it with a 2x4 in a butt, and those deer are gone, and they don't come back.
That's right. The positioning of your trail camera is really important, as you just touched on, and to solve that, it's a really simple solution. Raise the camera. The old stick behind the camera, been doing it tried and true for many years. They also make trail camera mounts that you can angle it, and it's important to remember your goals with your trail camera, because for me as a photographer, I get really into trying to get the most picturesque video, and that can be detrimental to the success of what I'm trying to accomplish as a hunter. If you're just trying to run inventory or to get pictures, you're just trying to get pictures of the deer. You can get the same angle, you can identify that deer from 6 or 8 feet as you could from ground level. I get so fixated, and it's bitten me in the butt before trying to put it ground level to get this picturesque scene, when if I put it a little bit higher, I would have avoided deer seeing it. But you can also camouflage your cameras as well. Deer, they know our woods, their woods, the woods we share infinitely better than we could ever imagine. So just sticking a camera out eye level on a bare tree, bare naked in the woods, they're going to pick that out plain as day.
Plain as day.
So if possible, camouflage your camera. You can get creative with foliage, with branches, tuck it back in, you know, a 3 trunks tree if you can. Anything to just make that trail camera blend in to its natural surroundings. Anything you can do to just conceal that trail camera a little bit goes a long ways.
Yeah, and to wrap it up, be prepared when you go out there. Because every time we go out, we always assume that there's going to be this perfect tree that is positioned over the food plot, and they'll have this picturesque thing and all that stuff, and we go there, and next thing you know, we're walking around like a squirrel, running tree to tree, and trying to figure it out, and it's not the right tree, oh my gosh. And so be prepared when you go out there. And one trick that Cody taught me is to use your cell camera to set up your camera.
Right, your selfie phone, not your trail camera. Your
Oh my
cell
God.
phone. Put it in selfie mode. It's a try. I wish I could take credit for it, but I saw it online many years ago. Once you get, because again, as a photographer, if the camera's not perfectly level, it bothers me. If it's pointing too up or too far down, it bothers me. So once you get your camera positioned on the tree, wherever you want to put your camera, your cell phone in selfie mode, and put it in front of the camera, and then you can get a good field of view of what your trail camera is going to capture, and you can get a good idea of what your camera images are going to look like.
Yeah. In the last episode, we strictly talked about where to put these deer cameras. And reference wildlife, a lot of wildlife, you can just set them up and see you later.
Yeah.
But more specific white-tailed deer, there's some thought behind it. And that's what this episode was about, is really just think about what you're doing. Treat it like a hunting situation.
Yeah.
If you have to get to that extra mile to be successful. Access, scent, time of day, and positioning.
Be really intentional with all those things that we talked about in this video. Are they necessary? No. As we mentioned, like you can slap a camera on a tree and you're going to get pictures of deer and every critter in your woods. But if you follow these steps and be really intentional with the decisions that you're making, reference the talking points that we highlighted, then you really are going to maximize your success. The quality and quantity of the images that you're trying to capture, no matter the wildlife species, whether it's white-tailed deer, turkeys, or whatever, you're going to notice a significant difference.
Mossy Oak Properties, where outdoorsmen find their favorite place.